Hey everybody, welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast, the only live streaming in-person arts and entertainment podcast covering northeastern Pennsylvania, offering a true alternative voice in local media. We're coming to you from the NEPA Scene studio underneath Center City Print in downtown Scranton. I'm Rich Howells, the founder and editor of NEPA Scene, and tonight we're here with Ken Stucker, the co-owner of Union Vapors 570 in Dickson City, where they host shows with local and touring bands. We're talking about starting up and running a small business, the products they sell and how they stand out from other vape shops, investing in the community through sponsorships of various events, producing shows with Diavolo Booking, Loud as Hell, and Punkstria, and the importance of DIY venues to the music scene, and much, much more. So please stay tuned for the full hour. We'd love to hear from you guys down below in the comments. So join the conversation, add your questions, anything you want to add to, we're going to be talking about the local scene in general. So we want to hear your opinions and your thoughts. Leave those in the comments below. Before we dive in, I just want to thank our sponsor, Center City Print, who's provided this amazing studio space for us. Use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online at centercityprint.com for 10% off. Center City Print can bring your ideas to life in 4 locations: Scranton, Old Forge, Kingston, and Hazleton. These one-stop shops are locally owned and operated, offering high-quality printed products, copy and print services, and design solutions to help you, your small business, your nonprofit organization, your band, your art project, your event, or any venture thrive. Use promo code NEPA Scene in person or online at centercityprint.com for 10% off. All right, so maybe start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background in general.
Hi. So thank you so much for having me on. My name's Ken. I am one of 3 owners of Union Vapors over on Commerce Boulevard in Dickson City. I am 35 years old. I am a Marine combat veteran, an Appalachian Trail thru hiker, a Johnson College graduate, and stuff like that. I kind of take the lead for our social media and outreach with the shop, and I also build most of the stuff that we need to build.
Okay.
That's a little bit about me.
So you're a handy guy.
Sort of. I would hope so. I did graduate from the carpentry department over at Johnson. Wonderful department, wonderful professor, wonderful team. And had a lot of fun doing that. It was definitely very good for me, transitioning out of the military to be able to kind of make and shape the world around me with my hands, all that good stuff.
So was Union Vapors your first small business that you started? Or
Oh, absolutely. I hope it's not the last one that we start.
Okay.
But we had a lot to learn as we were kind of navigating that. There's a whole lot of surprises. Very few of them are fun surprises.
I'm sure.
But you get used to rolling with the punches, and you keep on going if you believe in what you're doing. You make sure that you have a good plan, a good team, and you stick it out and see where you can go.
Now, what do you think from your past experience in the military and at Johnson College and stuff? How do you think any of that has helped you to do what you do now?
This might sound goofy. I think the biggest thing is I owe it to the Marine Corps. Doing this took a lot of grit, and it took a degree of fearlessness. Maybe a little bit of insanity, and it's tricky. Everyone hears the statistics. Most small businesses fail within 2 years of opening.
Yeah.
And you look around you, and you're like, oh man, well, I'm not going to take the risk. I'm going to stay at this job that I hate, possibly forever, because it's too risky. It's too dangerous. Yeah, no, it depends on the plan that you have. It depends on how hard you're willing to work that plan. Unlike, when you're working for somebody else, where you may or may not be compensated proportionately to all of the hard work that you put in. When when it's your name on the door, that hard work, whether it pays off or it doesn't, you get to deal with it. And, so it's very different in that regard.
So was this the location in Dickson City? Was that your first location?
Yes.
Okay.
It's our first and only location. We are the only Union Vapors. We wanted to be a centrally located shop for a couple of different reasons. There's a lot of through traffic through New York and New Jersey, which really gives you a lot of economic opportunity there. And being who we are and with what matters to us, we decided we want to be there. So as folks are passing through, we get a lot of, what's good in the area. And then we can tell them about all of the cool stuff that they would very easily miss if they didn't drift too far off of the interstate. In fact, we've done small business spotlights where we team up with, we'd go to a shop, like we went to Bizarre Skate Shop, we went to Analog Culture, we went to Monstars Toys, businesses that we think are really cool in the area, that are doing something cool and unique that I think contributes to the culture of the area. And we'd go in and we'd be, okay, we're going to buy a whole bunch of stuff and we're just going to give it away to our customers for free as a thank you. But beyond that, as kind of like a, hey, look what's in your area.
Okay.
And a lot of folks have been, as a result of like, oh, hey, I never knew what that was, or I never knew that there's something like that there. And as we all kind of get more familiar with what is really out in the community, and we start to see all of these cool, unique, different projects, I think it fosters a lot of pride in who we are, as Northeastern Pennsylvanians. It gives us something to rally around, and it helps fight off the funk where it's like, oh man, there's nothing to do around here. Yeah. You could not be further from the truth.
I say it all the time. So you're, how long has Union Vapors been around now?
We opened 2 Augusts ago.
Okay.
So not all that very long. But we've been very fortunate to show consistent, strong growth, and we feel optimistic about the future. And those are big things. From the get-go, when we were first getting started, we reached out to some more conventional, more commercial avenues for trying to get the word out. And we realized that, for us anyway, they weren't a really great fit. They were really, really expensive. We weren't sure about their efficacy, for a group of small folks like us. And they weren't any fun to do. So we kind of tried to figure out, well, how can we link into the network, if there is a network of folks in the community that are trying to help one another out. If there isn't a network, what can we do to foster that and to strengthen that and to build that? And that's something that we're going to be continuously trying to do. I feel like if we as a business are doing well and we're doing what we ought to be doing, that other businesses are going to be doing well because we're going to be, helping one another out, and that, to me, that's important.
So why a vape shop?
Why a vape shop? Yeah. Okay. That's a really good question. So we all met at the various shops that we worked at. It was a job that I landed in because a buddy of mine needed somebody that he can count on to help him out at a store that he worked at. And we always joked, that one day we'd open our own shop. And I always expressed when I was in different positions to folks that, hey, having a good team, and this is true of any business, having a good team and having good customers is what keeps the doors on, the doors open and the lights on. And I really feel like the group of folks that we wound up, doing this together, all of us, we have an amazing team. And I was going to go in a different direction. I had the GI Bill. I was going to go to school, become a carpenter. Yay. I completed this phase of my life, and I can, I can move past it. But I realized I couldn't take any of my friends, any of the people I met along the way who helped me get where I was. And that didn't sit right with me. And it didn't sit right with me to know that there were people that were good at something and that they might not be able to do the thing that they were good at.
I know exactly that feeling.
So one day we all kind of got together, after a lot of trials and tribulations in the other experiences we found ourselves in, and we borrowed a little journal from one of my partner's girlfriends, now fiancés, and pink sparkly things, believe in yourself on it. And I was like, okay, well, what if we did this for real? What would it take? And we were there for a couple of hours, and by the end of it, I'm like, holy crap, I think we might actually be able to do this. For my side of things, when I mentioned before, I'm the guy who does public outreach. When we were sitting around the table, I was like, if we don't do something like this project isn't worthwhile to me. So it's something that, there is a gigantic industry, and I feel like you need to have people who care about the industry, about customers, about relationships, in those positions where there's all this money flowing through, because it's really easy for bad actors to come in and they'll be attracted to, what the flow of what looks like easy money. And then you have things that are bad for the industry, bad for consumers, bad for, team members, and in time that just guts everything, so we, in a way, we kind of felt like we had to do it.
So what goes into opening a vape shop? I'm sure there's all kinds of costs and there's all kinds of regulations.
There absolutely are. And for us, one of the things that I feel sets us apart from some, but not all, we were talking about, players in the industry, is taking a lot of care and a lot of pride about adherence to those rules and regulations, because they are made to protect people. I won't tell anybody, oh, hey, if you take up vaping, you won't have to jog in the morning. You lose 20 pounds, and the ladies will like you. We need to be responsible. So making sure that we have the best information about what's out there, making sure that we have all of our compliance in line. I'll tell you, if you're interested in starting up any business, what made it really easy for us, but was not a necessary thing to do, particularly in the state of Pennsylvania, was just checking out. I think it was something like, it's not Rocket Lawyer, it's something like that. I'm trying to remember, but a little app that basically collects all of the various forms that you have to file. Again, it's not that many. The legal side of it, it is very easy to say, hey, I have an LLC, let's go. That's great. But that doesn't mean anything. You need to have a business plan. You need to start off with why it is that you're going to do what you're going to do, because you're going to be asking yourself that question a lot at 3 a.m.
Right.
And you need to have a plan to get from, hey, I've seen a problem or something that I want to do, and I have a solution. All of the various steps, like in order to bring whatever product it is or service it is that you're interested in unleashing into the community, you need to have a plan, and you need to know what you need to be doing in order to get where you need to go. You need to take a really honest assessment of, are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to, it's always easier to kind of start small and grow something as you go. What is the very smallest, simplest version of this idea that you can start off with? And if you're able to get success with that, how do you grow it to keep it going? And that's kind of been where we've been with all of that. Obviously, you're pulling permits, you're talking to landlords, you're signing leases, you're talking to banks and insurance companies. You can't get intimidated.
No.
When you're a brand new fledgling business and people find out that this is your first business, very frequently, like, oh, that's very interesting. Let me tell you about my amazing product and service. And you get a lot of stuff like that. Believing in yourself helps you kind of defeat a lot of that, because if you have that confidence in what you're doing and how you're going about it, I think you're less likely to fall for some huckster who's trying to sell, some miracle. If there was one, they wouldn't be selling it to you.
Sure. Yep.
But beyond that, when it comes to the small business entrepreneurial route, it is a lot of work at this level. That is the secret ingredient. That is the magic recipe. It is being tenacious. It is being dogged. It is having a good, worthwhile vision that you can really go to the mat for and just fight for as long as it takes, knowing win or lose that you're going to be happy with what you did. That's a long answer.
That's okay. We like long answers here. That's what this show is all about. So, I never smoked.
Don't start
cigarettes or vapes.
Beautiful.
So you gotta tell me a little bit about these. You made the switch from cigarettes to vaping.
Yes, I did.
And why do you think this is kind of the trend now? It seems, especially with obviously the younger generation.
Okay, and that's a phenomenal question. I started vaping shortly after the technology came into existence, and it was garbage when it first started off. Which that's how things go.
Sure.
At the time, I was a 2-pack-a-day smoker. I was in the Marines, and it was a big part of the culture, the smoking, drinking, all that happy stuff. And I had people that were worried about me. They were like, hey, I heard that this might be something that, could be not quite as devastating for you as smoke, which is a very low bar to clear. Like, unless you are literally just huffing asbestos, it's difficult to do anything to yourself that is worse than smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
And I would smoke those 2 packs a day. I'd wake up in the morning, I'd cough up blood. So don't take up smoking. I found that in time, I felt a lot better. And I know that it's a very contentious subject when it comes to the research that is done. And there's a lot of money in the answer.
Yes.
And you're going to get different answers depending on who you ask. But I think one of the biggest things that kind of colors our view is exactly what you touched on with youth, and I think that the fact that it was a device-based novel technology thing, I think that's why it displaced smoking in young people. But on the bright side of things, just as a general trend, from generation to generation since our generation, each year there's been less teenage drinking, less teenage smoking, less teenage like delinquency, less premarital sex. Basically, we're getting more and more like lame, and that's a good thing. We're not all living like rock stars at 13. Stealing a pack of smokes and a case of beer and dad's Playboys and throwing rocks at like birds in the woods, like
like the good old days.
Well, the bad old days too. But and vaping, as far as the trend part with youth, has already kind of begun to give way to new ways to get nicotine, like pouch-based things. But and we talk about industry and responsibility. I think, and this is one of the things that we are really proud of and we work really hard to maintain, is that we absolutely positively we're super vigilant about making sure that our products don't wind up in the hands of folks that are under the age of 21. And the reality is, I much rather have a conversation with somebody who has questions and have them walk into my store having bought nothing but learned something than just sell a product for the sake of selling something. When folks find out about our shop and they meet us, then they get excited. Oh, hey, you guys are nice people. Can I buy something just to support you? And I'll be like, well, do you currently smoke or vape? And be like, no. I'm like, absolutely not. That's for us. That's our moral responsibility. I think it's like, okay, well, if you want to support us, we buy a can of Coke from the fridge, buy a T-shirt, go to our local artist corner, and buy a piece of local art, and tell people about us. But being unscrupulous and being like, oh hey, the young folk that maybe they don't know any better, or maybe they're just in a risky, rebellious phase because they're young and that's what you do when you're young. To exploit that is wrong and illegal, and it's something that we steer very, very clear of. And if there are folks in the area that are engaged in that business, we hope that we can do business well enough to knock them out, and because it's bad for the industry. I know for me, it was an important part of me getting to where I wanted to feel. If other people are unscrupulous, then it's something that gets taken away as a freedom or a right. And beyond that, it's just plain not okay, when it comes to that whole thing with the young folk.
Right. And, the whole idea of smoking, whether it's cigarettes or vapes or e-cigs or whatever, is contentious in and of itself.
Oh, absolutely.
So do you get any shit for that from people?
Certainly.
Your friends, things like that? Or why are you selling this stuff? Like that sort of thing. You ever get, criticism?
No, absolutely. And frankly, I invite it. Because it's honest conversation. Yeah. I will never forget that I had we'll call him a mentor, who was helping me with some very difficult things, and he's like, so what are you doing, by the way? And I'm like, oh, I run a shop. He's like, so why are you in that? For real? And I think that, and this might sound, this might itself sound contentious, when you know that people are going to enter a space and industry, regardless of whether or not they care about any of the moral scruples that somebody could have, it changes your outlook on it, If there's a giant stack of money or opportunity on the table, somebody is going to take it. And there's a very good chance that folks who don't have any kind of hang-ups or any kind of anything like that are going to be the ones that are making that effort. So if people aren't willing to be good stewards of any industry, regardless of what it sells, then that industry is gonna have a bad time. It's gonna do things that are going to be bad for itself in the long term, its customers, the environment, the community, all that happy stuff. Conversely, I feel like you can take an industry with proper stewardship, and you can make sure that you are doing something to make sure that economic activity is being used in a way that aligns with your morals and what you think is right, for what that's worth.
Yeah, well, I mean, people have the same conversations in the scene all the time about the bars.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the same sort of thing where, you're selling an alcohol to people, and they can do that responsibly, or they can often not do that responsibly.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of laws and regulations in place. It doesn't mean everybody follows them.
That's absolutely true.
Things like that. So yeah, it's the same sort of thing. So it's good that I think that's the right perspective.
Thank you so much.
For what it's worth.
No, I appreciate it.
Because I'm very much about people's freedom of choice. Be able to do what they want to do, and if they're gonna smoke, they're gonna smoke.
Absolutely.
So they might as well do it at least in a more responsible way, and support people who are doing things the right way, which I think totally makes sense. Now, what kinds of products do you carry?
So this is another one of the things that kind of makes us a bit different. We're a traditional vape shop, which probably doesn't mean anything to anybody who learned about what vaping is in the last 3 years.
Yeah.
So back in the day, shortly after, vaping was simply like these devices that we called ciga-likes because they look like cigarettes and they light up and they don't taste like anything and they don't really.
I do remember those.
You probably remember a few things like that. Back in the day, shortly after that, we began to move on to what we call mods. These big battery box, devices that you would build your own electric coils for, and they'd heat up and they'd vaporize and they create those gigantic freaking clouds that so many people have had things to say about. But the reality is, a scene existed around that because it was stuff that back then people were doing in their garages. They were building little communities about how to best do this sort of thing. Folks would gather and have competitions about who can build the best, and it was a point of pride. It was a way that folks would hang out. And as that economic incentive, showed up on the scene, because it went from being a very DIY, very fringe kind of hobby, basically, it became a predominant method for people to consume nicotine. And at that point, you have the entry of like the old school tobacco companies onto the scene, and the injection of billions of dollars into it, and it's become this colossal behemoth. As all of that has happened, vape shops have changed a lot, and they've gone from being things that here's our little shop, and we make our little coils, and we have our artisanal flavors, and very like mom and pop feeling, to expansion into I'm going to try and keep this in like an order of what I believe is a continuum.
Okay.
Vaporizers for herb, glass products. I feel like we're doing fine here. And then we start to move into things like spice and salvia and synthetic drugs.
Yep.
And I remember at one point in time, someone walked into the shop and was like, "Hey, do you guys sell these?" And it was a crack pipe.
Wow.
And I don't judge. I want to make this super clear. I don't judge anybody who goes through any of this. But the reality is, I don't want to be putting my economic activity behind that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of shops have gone very heavily in that direction because it makes them money. Because of course it does.
Yeah. I mean, this area especially has a huge problem.
Yeah. So. And I know that when it comes to certain products, the jury's still out. But we ourselves have made very specific decisions. It's what do we have experience with? What do we have knowledge about? What are we confident in? I would never want to sell to anybody any product that I would not be confident consuming myself. And I can't project that same confidence about a lot of the products that are out there on the markets at other shops. Obvious, and beyond that, fun little tidbit, demographically, Scranton skews like 55 and up.
Yeah.
And our original idea, or the original purpose or intent of folks that were creating vaping as a hobby scene, was to quit smoking. And across our history, folks have come in and been like, "Hey, look, I want to try to do this as a way to quit smoking cigarettes. I've been smoking since I was 7 years old. And I'm 70 now." And it's like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And so at this point, somebody's grandma is here in the shop. And I want to make sure that we are always presenting a professional and friendly environment so that folks will walk in and be like, "Hey, I feel like these people give a damn about me." and that and they're going to do their best to do what it is that they do to try and do right by me. And I can proudly say, regardless of the controversy surrounding vaping, that many of our best customers, we have already gotten in the door, given them a path off of cigarettes, and they now no longer shop with us because they no longer vape.
Wow.
And we are really, really proud of that. That's a big deal. and beyond that, with what we've done in the shop to kind of try and create a community space, we have found that we've been able to build relationships and friendships that regardless of what, smoking cessation method you are going to give a go of, building those friendships helps you build the confidence and the love for yourself that it takes to face any difficult habit or addiction. It's like, oh, hey, I have friends. They care about me. Maybe I should care about me. And, and once you get there, then you can actually properly begin to fight.
Yeah.
Because I feel like for a lot of people who are trapped in addiction, it can be like, it could possibly start off as, well, I don't really give a damn about what happens to me anyway. And by just being ourselves and, and offering a space for people to be around other people, a lot of people that we've had come through our doors have been able to like, hey, I found friends. I rediscovered interests that I had forgotten that I had. And it helped me to stand up for myself enough to say, you know what, I see a way out of this. And I'm just I'm proud of them because of the effort that it takes. And I'm happy that we were able to be in some way, shape, or form a part of that.
And you have a really nice, it's a brand new building, so
yes,
it's a beautiful space. You have kind of a lounge area and stuff that people can kind of hang out in and stuff too.
So unfortunately, for folks, because it is a super cool lounge, it is 21 and up.
Sure.
But frankly, I feel like we do need 21 up spaces.
Yeah. That aren't just a bar.
Yeah. That's super important. It was one of the things that came up a lot while I was talking to my friends while we were building it out. I have friends who are in recovery. I have friends who never made it out of recovery, and it's there. Third spaces where you can neither be at work or at home, but be in community. They're always at a premium, and they're always up against it. And we figured, well, we pay the rent. To hell with it.
Yeah,
we're gonna make use of the space. We're gonna see what it is that we're just gonna do crazy shit. We're gonna throw it at the wall and see what sticks, and that's been it. So at the lounge, we have Kindle e-readers, we have board games, we have video game setups, and basically just stuff where you can like chill and hang out. I recently finished building a 48-foot like vape bar where you could just kind of sit in front of the wall and talk to one of our lovely and talented staff or each other. And beyond that, we have a local artist corner, what I alluded to earlier, where we have all sorts of, we have potters, we have blacksmiths, we have woodworkers, we have painters, we have illustrators, we have 3D printers, a little bit of everything, a little bit of everybody. As an opportunity for them to have a storefront, because my God, that's expensive.
Oh yeah.
And the event circuit can be brutal, and it's difficult to make it as an artist. So why not have beautiful stuff in the shop while we help people, try and hang their shingle and make a living. And our customers like it, we like it, the artists that we work with like it. To me, that seems like a pretty good indicator of a good job. And the newest thing in the lounge is our preposterous music backline.
Especially for that kind of space. So nobody walks into a vape shop going, "Is there a backlight?" You're just not even going to ask that fucking question.
So the first show we ever did, it was my cousin's band, Avalanche Paths, and they played at the V Spot.
They have, yeah.
And,
We've had them. They've come to the open mic before.
Absolutely,
too.
lovely post-hardcore act,
Yeah.
and. They were like, "Hey, can we play the shop?" And the thought had occurred to us in the future, but we're like, "We're not ready." But you know what? To hell with it. If they don't care, we don't care. Let's send it. Let's have some fun. Shortly after, actually a few months later, by happenstance, Ramioni from Diavola Booking walked into the shop and was like, "I've heard about this place. Have you ever thought about doing shows here?" And we're like, "Yeah, actually." We had amazing events where we got, let's see, I think the first event we were able to get Do It With Malice, Lunch Trucks, Neanderthal, 13 Cavities. So folks from all over, Pennsylvania and New York. The second act we had Miracle Blood, Ebes, Bob and the Devil, and Pollen. So some serious
really good
talent. and I'm like, I love this, and this is great. It's a wonderful way for us to kind of show our appreciation to our customers, and to kind of a tip of the hat to the old school days of a shop being a place to hang out, and beyond that, being that venue or that music space where that creativity needs to happen. We've had a lot of folks walk in and it's like, "Oh, great. My promoter got me this freaking show at a freaking vape shop." Whatever. And they walk in and they're like, "What the hell?" So we're subverting expectations out there.
Absolutely.
Would you like me to talk about the back line?
Yes,
Okay.
please. The fact that there is one at all is, I'm sure, shocking to many.
So it began with folks kind of bringing in their own PAs and their own cables and their own gear, and there was a lot of love in that, but there's also a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
And it can be a deterrent. We like to remove obstacles, as one of the things that we like to do just as people at the shop. And I'm like, okay, well, you know what? Let's have some stuff. We need at least a PA system, and it kind of grew. We talked to musicians, we talked to sound technicians, we talked to theater stage designers. We talked to promoters. We kind of got everybody's answer to what it is that they thought was necessary to have a good venue. And it's amusing when you kind of put everyone next to each other, how certain things are super important to one angle of that and super unimportant to another angle. It's like if you ask a promoter what makes a great night, their answer is going to be different than if you ask, a lead guitarist. It's going to be different if you ask a sound technician. It's going to be different if you ask a lighting tech. It's going to be different if you ask a person in attendance at the show. So when we had decisions to make about which direction to go in the gear, we decided, for better or for worse, sorry sound techs everywhere, to side with the musicians. And because if they can't have fun playing out of the shop, then nobody's going to want to do it.
Yeah.
And also, we wanted to make sure that we could alleviate some of the anxiety or angst about, like, oh, hey, are we going to have the right gear? Beyond that, not simply can we play out of the house stuff is any good, like for acts that just started up, it's like, okay, well, I normally borrow my brother's stuff,
Sure.
Frankly, there is, as we learned, there's a financial, roadblock.
Yes.
That you have, or a hurdle that you have to clear to be able to do that, and we want to alleviate that for folks who want to express themselves creatively. And we want our folks to have a fun time. And again, sorry, sound techs. We're doing what we can to take care of everybody. But we went with two K12 QSC speakers, the KS118 subwoofers. So when you look at the shop, it's a large vape shop. It is a small place for the gear that we have in it. But I always wanted to make sure that we could give it more, because you could always get a bigger system and not quite give it everything. You can't get a smaller system and give it more than it has.
Yeah. In fact, while you're talking about this, I'll put up some pictures from
that would be awesome.
Previous shows so that people kind of get a bit of an idea.
That would be lovely. Well, before we dive too far into the rest of it, huge shout out to Northeast PA Music Center, Magden Music, Music Go Round, Guitar Center in Sweetwater, the various places that we sourced this from. We tried really hard to prioritize making sure that the money that went into this system went to local shops first. I feel like that demonstrates our seriousness and our sincerity. It helps us build a relationship. It helps things get going. And also it's just good stuff. I like to see the money that I earn in the community get spent in the community and circulate through the community and help everybody do a little bit better than if it just, went off someplace and we never saw any of it ever again. But we do have 2 412 cabs, an orange cab, and a Mesa Boogie cab. I have an orange Crush 100 combo amp and a Mesa Boogie Mark 7 combo amp. I have an Ampeg 812 cabinet. We have a Tama. The 810 is a bit ridiculous. Again, sorry, sound people everywhere. We have 3 EV monitors, which is a big thing apparently for folks in punk and hardcore bands. They're not used to it. Sure. It's like, holy crap, I can hear myself. It's awesome. It's an important part of the experience of being on the stage. We don't have a wood stage, but and the whole thing is powered by a Behringer X32 40 channel mixer.
Okay.
With all of that, the goal was to make it as painless as possible to play through, as exciting as possible to play through.
Yeah.
And so far, it's been very well received. The folks that have played through have had a wonderful time. The folks who have been in attendance have had a wonderful time. We've been having a wonderful time. And to me, that's straight across the board wins.
Well, I mean, there's such an important part of any music scene is those DIY venues.
Yes.
There's much of the discussion in on my side of media in general is usually on the theaters and the bar restaurants and things like that. And it's like that is important, absolutely. But there's a big barrier for local bands in terms of getting into a lot of those places, getting booked at those places, being able to fill those places enough that the venue wants to have them there and that sort of thing. Yeah. So they need these little spots to pop up, and those places have always been basements and the backs. I many years ago, long before I was a journalist in the music scene, who was just a music fan, Kitty was coming through, which they're kind of making a little bit of a comeback now.
The metal band?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I had seen them at Tinks many years ago.
Many years ago.
Many years ago. Yeah. that building is gone and reconstructed into a restaurant now. But yeah, so when it was Tinks, and they came back through a few years later, and I somehow saw a flyer or something, and it was like Backstage Enterprises, and I'm like, what the fuck is Backstage Enterprise? I've never heard of this place in my life. So I ended up finding out that it was the back of a t-shirt shop in Kingston. And like, okay, that sounds interesting. I don't know what I'm getting myself into by going to somewhere like that. But, at that point, my experience had mostly been at, actual venues, whether they were big or small. Yeah, venues. There's definitely some places that I don't know, looking back, I'm like, how is this even legal to operate? But yeah, venues nonetheless. Yeah. But this was kind of okay. This seems like a DIY sort of thing. So we go into this T-shirt shop. They're like, and I'm like looking around. I'm like, where the hell are they even going to play? And there was a big room of just all I could describe as plywood. It was plywood walls, plywood on the floor, plywood maybe this high off the ground in terms of the stage, and that was it. It was just it looked like it was probably at some point the back of a store. Like the warehouse area, the storage area, that sort of thing, that they had just turned into a venue, and I'm sure that the band was probably just as surprised to show up as we were to this place. But it was a good time.
That's awesome.
It was great.
That's
And
absolutely
that
awesome.
place unfortunately didn't last very long. It was one of those places, I think, right after Cafe Metro had closed in Wilkes-Barre. And Cafe Metro was such a huge part. Talk about your small venues, your independent DIY kind of stuff. But it was a venue, primarily, whereas a lot of these other places are something else by day and something else at night and that kind of stuff. So I think it's what you're doing is so important to local bands in general.
Well, I feel like you have to hook and jab, when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of challenges and a lot of potential pitfalls just from what we've seen, observing, the rise and fall of a lot of these small venues. I remember Cafe Metro when I lived down in Wilkes-Barre. I remember the day that it closed, and I remember thinking to myself, "Wow, that's a huge loss for Wilkes-Barre." I believe that as you look back at it, that it pretty clearly was. Yeah. And there's always, as you said before, though, there's always people that are doing something. Even if they have to do it, if they have to do it in a basement, they will.
Right.
And those are truly the folks that are keeping it alive. It's important, though, that we have like a farm or like a circuit, for the folks that are just getting themselves out there to build the confidence and to build the skills and to entertain people while they do it. Yeah. To go to those theaters, those big stages. It doesn't come from nowhere.
Yeah.
And the more support that you have, the more eyes on you or ears on you that you have, the better that you can do. From the other side of it, the audience side of it, I feel like as a newcomer, it might be a bit of culture shock to walk into a plyboard, I'm not sure what's going on here. It can be definitely exciting.
Yeah.
But the reality is we need to make sure that we have support for both sides of the equation.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that our artists are able to put on shows and express themselves. We need to be finding ways, whether it's like disability, accessibility, or general safety, or good, just making sure that we're enforcing good etiquette, or that we're looking out for people to, avoid any of the seedier stuff that could go wrong. It's making sure that we have a safe place for folks to actually come and enjoy the music, and we have a place where our artists and technicians are able to do what it is they do. One doesn't work without the other, I don't think, when it comes to that goal of getting up on the big stage and telling your boss at the post office to go, kick rocks.
Right. And these, were there any, shows like that growing up that maybe inspired what you're doing here? Anything that you saw that sticks out in your memory?
So here's my embarrassing confession, and I've mentioned it before. I'm not ashamed to say that we have really reached out to a lot of people who know a lot of stuff and who have been in the scene for a long time, and we've tried to approach that with as much respect as possible. I was too much of a loner to actually go out and experience live music. I was like, well, I have to leave my house. I have my CDs. I have my MP3s. I'm just gonna put on my headphones, and this is music for me. And I think that, that is what it is. At the same time, you miss a huge thing that's available to you if you want to reach out and grab it. Yeah. You miss out on the sense of community that's available there. the experience of seeing one of these acts live, and it's crazy, because when we were at Good Things Are Happening Fest, I think a ticket, it couldn't have been more than $30. And the bands that they had on the stage at the Scranton Iron Furnaces, I was like, wow, this is stuff that to me is this moment right now is every bit as great as being in an arena where somebody's playing out a packed house where tickets are $1,000, $2,000, and I got this for a couple, like what the equivalent of like a couple hours wages, as opposed to I scrimped and saved and I was just barely able to get tickets for this tour that I had to drive 8 miles to or 80 miles to and book a hotel overnight, yada yada. It's right there. It's in my backyard.
Yeah.
The talent is there, and just because they're not on mainstream radio stations or they're not on the internet or whatever, it doesn't mean that they're not worthwhile. They're not totally awesome. They won't rock your face off.
Yeah.
They won't, impact you emotionally with their performance, yada, yada, yada. The thing that actually influenced me to get into it was to think about how important music had been to me in those times where I was, kind of, alone in my room and trying to get through things and figure things out. Good things, bad things, happy times, sad times.
Yeah.
What made it very important to me as a combat veteran was I kind of came to a place where I'm like, I really do think that music and creative expression have a very important place in the prevention of suicide. And that powerful community and those messages that people can relate to and realize, hey, I'm not alone in all of this. That was the thing that made me feel like, hey, I need to go and be part of this.
Yeah.
And as I thought about, my friends that I've lost to that, I'm like, well, maybe if they did have close at hand, when they were, up against it, a group of folks, maybe they know them, maybe they don't, a bunch of strangers, a bunch of buddies, a bunch of people you haven't seen in 10 years showing up, and all kind of just doing the same thing, enjoying that same, and being in that same energy. I know that there were times where I went to shows recently as I was trying to kind of engage with the local scene and figure out what's up and realize that I dropped the ball and I missed a lot of really awesome stuff. I'm like, wow, this is really fascinating. This is really awesome. There's a lot of power here. And it was an important part of me being okay. So I wanted to make sure that, other people had that open to them, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely. And it's never too late. It's never too late to get into that.
Absolutely not. Everything's changing so fast anyway. Yeah. That it's like, okay, well, even if you were here 10 years ago, you still might not have any. If you take a step away from it, it's like, oh, new faces. That's part of the fun of it, though.
Yes, absolutely.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Well, the thing that it blows my mind about, as you were saying, people will go out of their way for what I would guess is I could say is the concert experience, where they're driving real far, they're spending a ton of money, which in this economy they're very picky and choosing what they can do for their entertainment.
Absolutely.
So they'll spend a lot of money, go out for this experience, which a lot of times is like seeing people from a mile away, a little dot, watching them on a screen in a big stadium. To me, just personally, that's not the concert experience. That's not what I want. Even if I want to see that band specifically, even if I like that band, to me, I don't get that feeling that I want when I go to a show. And the local scene is really, over the years, really changed, really solidified that perspective for me. Because I liked going, and I still to this day, most of the bands that I listen to, you would consider club-sized venues at the most. That's their circuit. They're probably not going to get beyond that. Sometimes they're going to play festivals and things like that. But for the most part, they're playing those types of venues. And for me, that's what I like. But the local scene in particular offers those things that everybody wants, from the bigger bands, but they will not get because of financial barriers, because of the fact that a band is so big now. You know, they don't have time to hang out at the tour bus with you guys. That's not going to happen. And if you want to pay an exuberant amount for a you know, VIP sort of thing, where your seats may be remotely better than somebody else's, and you get to meet the band, shake their hand, maybe say a thing to them, and then turn around, take the picture, get out, next person, that sort of thing. And I totally understand that perspective financially, because bands are not making money on music like they used to. They're not selling albums and CDs and stuff like they used to, so they have to make money somewhere. So I understand that aspect of things. But in terms of just being a music fan and connecting with music and feeling that emotion and stuff like that, there's nothing like that local music experience, because you're not only going to see these people right up close, up front, and really, you know, see the emotion in their face, hear everything that they're doing, making sometimes little mistakes and things like that, which is part of the live experience. That it's not some pre-recorded thing, which once it gets to a certain huge level, even some of the best bands are relying on all kinds of backing tracks and things like that to cover up certain things and smooth over certain nights where maybe they're losing their voice or whatever else, but they don't want to lose on that paycheck. I like that kind of raw experience, and then you get to hang out with these people afterwards and talk to them and you know, tell them what that meant to you and that sort of thing. And I feel like that's the live music experience, and that's what you get from those DIY experiences.
No, that's phenomenal. Trying to think, there was something that you hit on that really kind of jumped up for me, and I'm trying to remember what exactly it was. It was all good stuff. You know, about the concert experience that isn't really about concerts, where it's like, oh yeah, the concert experience, being mad in traffic. Not like, it's like, when it comes down to the band's got to make money, absolutely, positively. When we're making our decisions, and this is true beyond just how we consume music, it's how we consume anything that we consume. You know, it's like, if I have a finite, which I do, amount of dollars to enjoy my year, when it comes to those super acts, firstly, the stuff that you were talking about, it smooths out and flattens the entire landscape. Where over time, the things that are the biggest are the most similar to one another, and the differences are reduced or minimized. And that's, to me, that's already kind of a shame. And you'll hear, I don't want to be that guy. It's like, well, you know, I feel like music is a lot of the same. If you're looking at media in general being treated as a product where the goal is to produce as much as possible so that you can get it to market and sell it, and have the marketing team figure it out on the back end, that's something that doesn't exist on the small, on the small venue, the club venue, like that circuit, that local energy. And if, let's make the math easy. Let's say that you have one show that you can go to for $3,000 all in, where the ticket and then the travel, because the band isn't going to tour anywhere near,
exactly.
Or with that same $3,000, you go to 30 $10 shows. I mean, and that's where a lot of the local shows, that's how affordable they are. And then you have money in your pocket to go buy reasonably priced refreshments or food. You can afford a t-shirt. I think that one of the things that we lose when we go to that giant format entertainment is we lose our regional identity. If you ask anybody who is in around here, oh, what kind of bands do we have around here? And I would say, just my early observations, while Scranton's music scene is incredibly diverse compared to a lot of other places I've been, you're going to see a lot of metal acts, you're going to see a lot of punk acts, you're going to see a lot of hardcore acts. that makes Pennsylvania different than other places.
It does.
And it's something that we can like stand behind and be like, hey, well, that's really, really cool. It's not just when we think about, experiencing culture, it's not just, as awesome as they are events like Italian Fest or the Kabasi Festival. It's like, hey, this is regional culture.
Yeah.
This is, in some way, this taps into the voice of, or the feeling of, or the ethos of the entire area. And that's really cool. And when you go to the big format, you wash out, you flatten, and you level all of those things. When you have one big national act, because we've all decided we need to shell out the thousands of dollars, and there's nothing wrong with making money.
Sure.
And there's particularly nothing wrong because it's not like they just started off making that money.
Yeah.
But when we have that, the mega act, the mega game, the mega that, where it's so highly, there's so much money thrown into it, it's being treated as an investment, and there's a board of people in suits hoping that it pays off. You lose something about what makes you different.
Yeah.
And you kind of, in a way, imply that it's important that we all be the same.
Yeah.
And we need less of that. And we need more celebration of difference. Mm-hmm. And being good at what we're being good at what we're good at and loving it, and not looking at other scenes with like envy or distrust. Be like, hey, we are who we are and we're happy about it. Mm-hmm. Because of the work and the passion and the dedication that goes behind it.
And you have to be, you guys have hosted some touring bands.
Yes.
And I get messages all the time. I get emails all the time of like, hey, my band's coming through here, this in the Scranton Wilkes-Barre area. Do you happen to know any venue, like any place that could have us on a random weeknight or, on a weekend or whatever, where they're just traveling through from one place to another and they figure, hey, if we can make a stop and do a show here with somebody, maybe because you cover the scene, that sort of thing. And, a lot of times I'm like, if you emailed me a month ago, I would have been able to tell you about this venue that is now closed. Or, this place that ended up getting shut down, or this, these people that aren't doing this anymore and stuff like that. So it's great to have places like this again where you could say, yeah, you know what, get in touch with this organizer, this venue, or this kind of place and see if you could set something up.
Yeah, and we're doing it very, very small.
Sure.
I feel like we've had a lot of, in the last year or two, a lot of really amazing things happen locally for arts and entertainment with the Ritz being restored and renovated.
Yes.
I think that's going to be huge because when I was growing up, if you wanted to see a big act, like one of those acts that wouldn't quite have like national attention, but they'd be at the front of the music that you like to listen to, like your Under Oaths and your Panic at the Discos and stuff like that. So where am I going to hear that? You'd have to go all the way to Stroudsburg. Sure. And the Sherman Theater is absolutely amazing. Yeah. And they have done so much. And frankly, the 45-minute drive isn't really that far for something that's going to be totally awesome. However, on the flip side of it, there's a lot of folks who don't have cars, and cars are expensive. And every city, every town needs to have something going for it that kind of keeps the wheels turning and the economy moving and people at jobs and producing things and making things and taking care of one another. And it's important that it not simply be, if you want to have a good time listening to some live music, the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna get in your car, you're gonna point at 45 minutes away from here. That's right. That's kind of a hopeless message.
Yeah, right.
But and you've already mentioned the V Spot. I was been completely blown away by everything it is that they're doing to support local music as a business. I know it's hard enough to run your business.
Yeah.
But to be so heavily committed and doing so much, it really is amazing. And
just allowing us to do the open mic is huge. There's a lot of, people ask me all the time, they're like, oh, well, you should be doing an open mic every night of the week at different places. And I said, granted, that's a lot of work.
It is a lot of work.
I would consider maybe a second night on a different night, that sort of thing. But I have yet to find a venue that is supportive and appreciative enough of what we do and how we do it to be able to do it anywhere else. A lot of places are like, yeah, you could do it here, but we won't pay you. We won't compensate you in any way. And it's like, well, I don't know how you expect to
good things to happen.
Yeah, exactly. In my business, it's like I can't make money off of any of what I do because journalism is free forever. Unfortunately, as people decided that when the internet started, and now that's you can't charge for it. Otherwise, people just leave your site. And I'm about the democratization of information, so I do think it should be free technically, but I also feel like we should support that side of things. And the open mic was not only a way for me to give a platform to a lot of people and give them a very important place to practice their stuff and get started and make connections and all that sort of thing, but also to make a few bucks on what I'm doing here to continue to fund all the other stuff. And there's either venues do not want to pay for it, or they want to put lots of restrictions on what the artist can do.
At an open mic.
Yes. They do not understand that word at all. There are people who come into the open mic who don't understand what an open mic is. They either demand that the artists are like perfect, like they must be absolute perfection, and it's like that's not what the open mic is.
That's the stomping grounds.
Exactly. That's where you start out. But the other aspect I hear a lot is that the comedians are too dirty. They say a bunch of things that I don't like. I find this offensive. I find that offensive. And it's like, but that is so subjective because there you in the corner who are crossing your arms and getting all huffy about it. There's 10 people right in the front who are laughing their asses off of things. This is the funniest thing they've heard all week. So it's like, so if that bothers you so much, it's literally a few minutes of your time, and then it's over. And then you could go back to and then the next person gets up, and they might be somebody that you find great. And I've had that too.
Maybe the people on the front will hate that person.
Yeah, they might hate that person. But that's why it's a venue. You move to the back, and then come to the front when it's somebody you want to see.
That's kind of the whole country in a microcosm right there, though, because it's like you can have. This is literally just a platform for the open exchange of ideas.
Yes.
This is a place where if you're just learning how to do what it is that you do, whether it's poetry or spoken word type stuff, or maybe you want to do a little bit of music, to kind of cut your teeth and if nothing else, kind of go through what it takes to put it together live and to see where you're at. It's such an important thing. It's transformative for folks at home who haven't done it. If you write, if you make music, the world needs what you write. The world needs the music that you're making. You never will know or understand the full scope of just how many people that are out there that can be relating to or helped by what it is that you have to say. So go out there and suck. It's your first time.
Yes.
Yes. And have an okay time at it, and come back each time resolving to just tighten it up a little bit, and before you know it, you'll be doing stuff.
Absolutely. And as an audience member or a consumer or anything else, you don't know what you like until you see it.
Absolutely.
You don't know. So I hear all the time so many people who say they don't like poetry, and they think about when they were force-fed you know,
Juan, that April with its showers stole the parasite to the... It's like, okay.
exactly. You know, the same old stuffy poetry that you heard in English class. We're force-fed that stuff, and that's their only idea of what poetry is. And then they go to a show where there is poetry, whether it's a mixed show or a show specifically dedicated to it. And I have never heard anybody walk away going, God, that was awful. I hated that. I always hear, wow, I never knew it was like this, or that's so interesting, or like, I really related to what that person said. It's like, what do you think music is? It's just poetry with instruments.
Absolutely.
So the fact that, you know, people can get up there just raw like that and just pour things out, I have so much respect for that. And the fact that most people seem to really enjoy it once they're exposed to it.
Absolutely.
And I think it's the same thing with music in general. People don't want to show up to a local show because they're like, well, I don't know who any of these people are. And it's
That's the point.
Exactly, right? You that's how you discover what you do like. And you find that there is quite a bit that you do like. Or, you know, people who are shut off to certain genres who think that, well, I'm not a rap guy, or, you know, I'm not a heavy metal guy. I don't like, you know, the screaming, and I don't like this, and I don't like that, and whatever. And it's like, yeah, but you maybe heard it on Spotify once, and then you changed it to the next thing. Like, seeing it in person is different.
And you know, if you got what you got from that large flattened media,
yes,
it might not have the power to connect with you. I'm not a big fan of what I'd call like contemporary radio country music, but here in Northeast Pennsylvania, we have some incredibly talented country and folk style bands that make music that resonates with me, because it wasn't, you know, like a lab engineered product to appeal to the greatest number of people and create the largest return.
Yep.
It's a visceral artistic expression, and the same, you know, the same for basically any genre of music. Maybe you'll feel a bit different about it if you know that it's steeped in, you know, just the experience of where you live.
Yeah. You know, speaking of which, we should talk to some of the people at home here.
Oh, sure.
Lots of good engagement today.
Yeah, we've
scared.
got tons and tons of engagement. So let's start
Like
back at the
encouraging
top.
people to talk with each other too.
Absolutely.
By the way, Summer's in the room. Summer's been our producer on the show for quite a bit now. Is helping to do sound and cameras and all that stuff. We appreciate her very much.
And it's not easy.
It's not easy. And I know she's come to some of your stuff too.
Oh, absolutely. And she's a wizard.
She did what? Did you do the sound at one of the shows recently?
This past Friday, that's Dakota.
Okay.
We had S. Dakota at the shop. It was unreal.
We love S. Dakota.
Phenomenal guys.
When you hear a band like that who are so humble and so cool behind the scenes too, and like have no idea, they seem to have no idea how talented they are. They don't really like. It's almost like, do you guys know how good you are?
It's bonkers.
They're like, why are they not in, you know, major theaters? Why are they not touring like the country? You know, like they should be on. They're on another level.
Absolutely.
Let's see. All right, Bobby.
I had a feeling.
Ken, will you try on Rich Howell's glasses for us?
Do you mind?
The only kind of sure. Here you go.
Should I say something?
You better go. Yep, go. There you go.
Should I say something that I think Rich might say? I don't.
Please do. Yes.
Oh dear God, that actually might be a good one.
Kind of got Clark Kent going on.
Oh boy.
Very Clark Kent. Yes.
Very Clark Kent. My
Yes.
goodness.
And then I probably look bizarre without the glasses.
I'm not gonna lie, I can't tell because I cannot see anything now.
Neither can I. So. Actually, so when I got these glasses, I had to get bifocals, and I couldn't deal with them. I ended up getting them changed to just a stronger prescription. I could not do the whole bifocal thing, but Let's see. Bobby Keller said he never threw rocks at birds. He did skip school and break someone's window while they were watching The Lion King, though.
Because he was cool as hell.
Yeah. I knew him back then. Too. I knew him in high school, and he was always a troublemaker. Mari B says Union Vapors for president. I think you were mentioning that before we had started rolling the cameras,
God.
that you were running for president.
So, this is one of the more outrageous things. We watched the debate at the shop against my better judgment. It started at 9, and the first presidential debate of this last election cycle, and we close at 9. So I'm like, okay, screw it, and I put it on, and I'm like, I'm going to do my civic duty and sit through this debate. And after it was all over, I'm like, well, I just turned 35, and I had been to this is somehow important. I was feeling a particular type of way because I just went to go visit Niagara Falls and see what humanity was able to accomplish, from an engineering and technological perspective there, and the combination of, our best efforts and the power of nature. And I was like, okay, you know what? I watched all of that. I'm like, to hell with this. I'm running for president. No one can stop me. No, and this is actually an important, I think anyway, in the times that where so many people are so divided and they're so concerned, or they're scared, or they're sad, or they're angry, or whatever. There's a lot of intense feelings. You will always have, what you are able to do in your immediate space. And, when big and crazy stuff happens, obviously it's important, but you can't let it make you feel like who you are or what you do does not matter. And when we come together in our communities, that's where that power is. So I hope, I hope that everybody who's doing everything does well always, because then we do well. Yeah. Allegedly. But even if not, I want to make sure that I am busy directly influencing what I believe I can influence for the good.
It's a great perspective.
Also, when people ask you who you're voting for, you could just say, I'm voting for my damn self. It ends the conversation. It's wonderful.
There you go.
And maybe if you're funny enough about it, you could have a good run on YouTube or something.
Let's see. Running in flip-flops. Those hell yeah, crazy shit. Looks sick. Can't wait to play there. Oh yeah, they have a show coming up.
Yes,
there.
They do.
Great band.
Oh, while we're on the topic of shows coming up, this Saturday, Purple Lung is going to be coming through. Let's see if I can nail the entire lineup, along with CPS All Day Special in Pollen, brought to you by Diavolo Booking. And then the day after that, this one's a bit harder. It's a 5-band lineup. I'm probably going to forget one, and I'm sorry in advance, guys. Brought to you by Punksteria is going to be Submerge. Is it Glory as a Ghost?
Yep.
Hey, look at me! And Downstem, Germ USA, and what's the one I'm missing? Is it Skis?
Yeah, Skies.
If I butchered that, Skies. We could square up at the shop on Sunday.
Yep.
But yeah, so 2 exciting shows you should definitely check out. It's not the sort of thing where we're in it to make any kind of money, because the reality is in the small local music scene, sometimes that's hard to come by. We really sincerely hope that the shows are well attended, so that we can pay our lovely sound engineers and the bands for coming out and put on an awesome show. So,
and we'll definitely read out that information and post it at the end too, because we got lots of stuff here.
Oh boy.
Let's see. Dave Kopko says, "Keep it up, brother." Bobby said, "Don't forget Home Base." Yes, another great venue, long gone, unfortunately. Todd says, "Good God, Ken, I just love you."
Is that Todd Snee?
Yes.
Todd, I love you too.
Mike Murray says, "I can relate. Our negative attributes make our positive attributes. I miss my homies, but community is the biggest part of music." followed by can Spew play your shop? There's always there's a compliment always followed by
I hope so. We're new at this, and we're listening to people, that know what's going on, and we're trying to ease into it so we don't completely jack it all up. So please be patient with us as we try to figure out a way to get, your act into our shop. Is that fair?
Yeah.
let's see. Let's see. There's a whole little conversation into and of itself with running in flip flops and spew. I'll spare you all of that. As funny as that is. Let's see. Do I look tough? Oh, I look tough without my glasses.
Don't worry, I got the close-up.
Oh, good. I'm going to look at that later because I don't really see myself without glasses very often. when I'm shaving, that's about the extent of it. So yeah, anyway, what I want to mention as well is you have these shows coming up. You also have one next month as well that is Running in Flip Flops, Peach Polaroid, Tari and Mari, and Broken Alibi. So they're all people that I know from the NEPA Scene open mic. So that's
Small world.
Cool. Definitely a small world. And I think some of those people met through that, which is pretty cool. And so what are your kind of future plans? What are you looking at for the rest of the year? Because we're just getting started at this point.
Yeah. And really, because I know that there's probably people that are waiting, like, how can I get...
Yes.
that are home watching, like, I need my band in there.
Right.
Bear with us. We're figuring it all out. I know where I'd like us to be. I would like us to have a show at the shop most weeks, when we're finally in full swing, with a few special exceptions. For example, and I think that this is an important thing when it comes to there's another layer. You have a venue working with fans, working with bands. Beyond that, you have venues working with other venues, making sure that we're all cooperating for the good of the scene and doing what we can to help everybody. I would not want to. Firstly, you would not be able to find a lineup in the world that would be able to compete with the 10-year celebration of NEPA Scene.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a phenomenal one, and I'm going to do what I can to get out of my shop and be there. But super excited about that. So we want to make sure that we are, we're being good stewards of what we're entrusted with, that we are being active with what we're entrusted with. There is a lot of musical talent in the area that is yearning for a place to play. There are so many more bands than there are venues. Even if we all were just continuously ripping through them, we would still struggle to get all of them a chance to play even once a year, And I want to be reaching out and engaging in that. I want to be making sure that our local fans of all genres of music are able to enjoy something, not simply the music that I most prefer, my buddies most prefer. Maybe, who knows, if we do some genre shows in the future that you wouldn't ordinarily go to because they're not normally your thing, maybe you'll, if you decide to give it a chance, maybe you'll enjoy it in a way you didn't expect to. Maybe you'll make friends with people you wouldn't have expected to befriend. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, Dave also asked, do you have food for sale at the shows?
So
there's food nearby.
There is food nearby. So we tend to run our shows after we are done with our normal business hours. We are right next to Primo's, so if you're going to show up early, you can always grab a sandwich there. And then we're catty corner from McDonald's, Olive Garden, Bitu's Tika, So an awesome mix of chain and local restaurants. We ourselves haven't jumped into the food thing yet, although I will say, and I'm really excited about this, that we've recently started a relationship with a local winery, Space Time Meat and Cider Works. They're able to use their exposition permits to kind of take their show on the road.
Yeah.
So what we have then, in my opinion, is a best of both worlds scenario, where you have live music that you want to hear, and at the same time, if you're like, I don't know, man, it's a vape shop, I usually go to the bar, I wanted to go to the bar this weekend, you have some really awesome locally made beverages that you can enjoy. At the same time, though, it never becomes a thing where, because they're making their money, we're selling usually drinks out of our cooler, the band's getting door and stuff like that. It really works out well, and it makes it so that when you go to one of the shows at our shop, there's a really solid chance that if someone is there, they are there to see the band. Mm-hmm. And having been to so many shows where, like, oh hey, they're doing like a $2 margarita night down at the Hole in the Wall, let's all go. Because $2 margaritas, and there just so happens to be a band there that is right. Absolutely killing it, yep. And no one is paying any attention.
Drives me crazy.
I feel like it's nice to be in a setting like that. Obviously, it kind of changes some of the economic realities when it's like, hey man, it's you, like. If you can't get people in the door, I don't have really awesome wings, so I'm not going to be able to save you with these 32 delicious sauces that I have, and so there's upsides and downsides to that. Sure. It's more licensing, it's more permitting, it's more getting into something that we are not experts at. Mm-hmm. And I'm really comfortable doing this because I've reached out to enough people that know what the hell is going on, that I trust, that the community trusts, and all that good stuff. Maybe one day.
So before we wrap up, I just want to mention too that you guys have also sponsored some stuff outside of
absolutely.
The event too, like, and why that was important to you, stuff like NEPA Horror Fest, things like that.
Because so far we've sponsored a live wrestling event at the Steamtown Mall, the Steamtown Smash, which was preposterous. When I was talking to those guys, the sponsorship deal was, and at the end of the show, we want you to choke slam us, and I'm like, this is outrageous. And it was our first spend for advertising or anything like that outside of like the big firms, and I'm like, this is awesome. But we had 140 people show up to that show. And frankly, we're not even there to be like, oh, hey, buy our stuff. We're there to show up and be like a presence. Yeah. Folks can like talk to us if they want to. Yeah. And if we get customers out of it, then awesome. And if we don't, we still did we had an awesome time. We jumped in for Good Things Are Happening Fest. We jumped in for NEPA Horror Fest. And it looks like we are going to be sponsoring Scala Days 2025 at the Ritz. Nice. I'm not sure how much sponsorship we're going to be able to do this year just because of the outlay of all of the equipment for the stuff we did. Yeah. But we're going to be swinging as hard as we possibly can. It's important to us because we have to live here. Like, if I'm going to be doing business in Northeast PA, and I live in Northeast PA, it behooves me to make sure that cool stuff is happening around here. Mm-hmm. And it makes me so happy to get to go to these events and to meet the amazing people that throw them together. A huge shout out to the Scranton Punk Collective, Jess Mione, James Barrett, Other James. I'm so sorry, Other James, that you're going to be Other James because I forgot your last name. Folks that are organizing these things and making them happen. Huge shout out to Bobby, obviously, as well, because they're important. They're important for our local economy. They're important for the alternative economy of, trying to scrap and all that happy stuff. And they're just a good time. You only get so many days alive. Why not spend some of them having an awesome time in an awesome place with awesome people?
So speaking of which, so the next shows at Union Vapors in Dickson City are this Saturday, January 18th, 9 p.m. with Purple Lung All Day Special, CPS, and Pollen. And Sunday, January 19th at 9 p.m. with Submerge, Glory is a Ghost, Downstem, Skives, German US, and Germ USA. Also on Saturday, February 15th at 9 p.m., we have Running in Flip Flops, Peach Polaroid, Atari and Mari, and Broken Alibi, aka Gus the Savage. Admission is $10 or $15 at the door, depending on the show. And be sure you have your ID with you as well.
Absolutely.
Anything else you want to mention?
I mean, for right now, I think that's a pretty good. That's a really good start. I hope to get to see you 2 weeks from now. I hope to get to see everybody. This is the sort of stuff that we have to come out to support and to celebrate. It's a really big deal. And with how stacked the lineup is, you gotta come out.
Right? You almost have no choice.
Especially if I've saw a lot of folks saying in the comments, if you ever were like, hey, Rich, do you think maybe you could check your if you have to go, it's the law.
Yes, I love that comment. That is so true.
But yeah, please follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram. When we work with a band, please follow them. You're already following this guy. That's phenomenal. It's a great start. But really, that does help these local acts, these local businesses be able to get messages out that are important to you guys about goings-ons and deals and news and all that sort of stuff. And, it's very easy for us to otherwise get lost in the static. And it's that guerrilla marketing. You guys can help be part of that. Beyond that, I hope that everyone watching had a great time, and I hope that I get to see everybody soon.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
This was fun. Great conversation. If you guys enjoyed the conversation, please do all the good algorithm things. Like, comment, share. Get the word out there about what Union Vapors is doing. I think it's awesome. We need more stuff like it. And if you like NEPA Scene, some people I get all the time. Somebody will like something, and I'm like, I invite this person to like the page. I'm like, I can't believe you haven't liked the page. So like, if you're not following us on all the social media channels, or Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and all that stuff, make sure you do that. And engage with this stuff. I'll run into people and they'll be like, hey, I saw the latest podcast. I'm like, I didn't see your like though. So make sure you do that, as silly as it sounds, because then it does push us into more feeds and lets people know about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
So, and we hope to see you at the aforementioned 10th anniversary fundraising show. I'll put that up on the screen. It's University Drive, Estacota, Portland Frank, Brendan Brisbane, Cortez, Peach Polaroid, Gus the Savage, Ivy, and Apollo Putnam. It's 10 years of this for $10. I wanted to actually get 10 acts in there, but it was really, 10 years, 10 acts. Yeah, really pushing our luck though, and I want to make sure everybody at least had a half an hour set. So we're starting super early too. The hook with this show, I think, is not only you get this great lineup, but that if you're one of these people who are like, I don't stay out late anymore, that's not who I am. Well, guess what? We're starting at 5 o'clock.
No excuses.
No excuses. So come out for 5 o'clock, see some of the early acts, get dinner at the V Spot. grab some merch. We'll have some new merch available, and then you can head out before 9 or 10 o'clock if you want. And if you're one of those people like, I want to be up all night, I want to party, so we have you covered there too. There's music right through 1 o'clock, so plenty of different kinds of acts. So maybe some stuff you see, maybe some stuff you haven't seen. We would try to give it a good mix, and if this goes well, maybe we'll do more stuff like this in the future. So we've kind of, over the years, it's just I'm always kind of a nose to the grindstone sort of person where it's like, oh yeah, we had an anniversary 2 months ago, passed by. It just keeps going. So this was a big one. We didn't want to miss it. We're only a few months off. This was the actual anniversary is September, but we're only a few months off. But yeah, if you want to see more stuff like this, make sure that you show up to this one. It's definitely going to be a good one. And thank you everybody who tuned in, and we will see you here next Wednesday for another NEPA Scene Podcast. Have a good night, everybody.